My name is Neely Taminga, and we are so pleased to have Brad Smith, Nordstrom's non-executive chairman, Erik Nordstrom, CEO, and Pete Nordstrom, President and Chief Brand Officer, with us here today. Why do you believe Nordstrom will be successful in this unique moment of disruption?
Well, I would start first and foremost with our people, the culture of our place, that focus on the customer, that allows us and motivates us to be a place of action versus a place of reaction. And I think that's played out in the investments we've made these last handful of years. COVID, while certainly disruptive to our industry and our business, the change has not come out of left field. It's really been an acceleration of changes that have been in place for some time. The shift to e-commerce, the importance of store services like buy online, pick up in store, and curbside services, virtual styling. These things that we've been investing against. We're excited, not that we kind of came out the other side of the financial crisis that came with COVID. We're excited mostly of the strategic progress that's been made and the capabilities we have today and that are coming live in the next 18 months or so that we think have just been clarified the importance these last several months.
What we're trying to do is bring the best of what the idea of a department store was, and that was having a great selection of products that customers value and covet with excellent service. It's just the how has really evolved and changed. And so we can't be bogged down or caught up in the legacy practices. We got to think about new and better ways. In a lot of ways, that's been super invigorating, I think, for our company to lean into how to redefine what that means. And so it's about bringing the digital and the physical together in a way that serves customers best. And I guess if that's a competitive thing, we're up for that challenge.
I'm confident in Nordstrom's future because it begins with mindset. While many other companies were thinking about reopen, the Nordstrom team was thinking about reimagine and reinvent. If you think about market disruptions accelerating the secular trends, as Erik talked about, companies really are left with two choices. They can act or they can react. And Nordstrom has always chosen to act. They were investing in digital assets and store fulfillment long before COVID required it. They were working on diversity, inclusion, and belonging long before the 2020 events reminded us of this social inequity and this racial injustice that persists all around us. And by the way, this track record is more than a century long. Nordstrom has always acted and always adapted and always reimagined and reinvented itself while preserving the core along the way. And that's why this company is coming out stronger and better than we were going into 2020. And as a board, we are excited about the opportunities that we see ahead.
How would you reflect the role of relationships and resiliency between both the board and the leadership team?
As challenging as the events proved to be in 2020, Nordstrom entered the year battle-tested and ready. The board and the management team had navigated circumstances that required complicated and sometimes difficult conversations and choices. If you think about it, the company has proactively driven transformational change over multiple years as the retail sector has been under intense disruption. We also deliberated and came to a conclusion after looking at a potential go-private proposal that we were committed to being the best world-class public company that we could be. And of course, we also dealt with the tragic and unexpected loss of our beloved CEO and Pete and Erik's dear brother, Blake. But it was these events that created a force that enabled us to stay aligned and to navigate through the challenges of 2020. And they enabled the management team to take those challenges and transform them into strategic opportunities to differentiate Nordstrom as we look ahead.
How has the board been most helpful to you?
Well, one thing's happened. We greatly increased the frequency of being together with the board. We had weekly calls, and that helped me and Pete a lot in that so much of this was new, and to have such successful executives who were going through similar things and the real sharing of knowledge of navigating these tough situations. But it also, I think, an unintended outcome of it was increasing the trust and transparency we have. With that frequency of contact, everything was on the table, and that's continued to today. That transparency and I think alignment.
This question is directed to Brad. You've spent 35 years of doing and leading, and now you're solidly in a season of governing. What does that look like, the difference between governing and leading?
Yeah, well, the responsibilities of leading a company as a CEO are clearly different than the responsibilities of governing a board as a non-executive chair. And I assure you that we consider it a privilege to have such talented operating executives leading Nordstrom on a day-to-day basis, because that enables me and the board to focus on being a talented, a diverse, and a high-functioning board that is here to oversee, advise, and support the management team. And we have put the energy into purposely building that kind of a board. And I'm proud of the mix of tenure we have on the board. We have a mix of those who've served with us for years and those who've joined recently. Our average tenure is about 5.5 years. I am very proud of the mix of gender and ethnic diversity. 45% of our board are women, 27% Black. I'm really pleased that we have the kinds of skills that we need as we look to the future in a digital-first retail economy. And so we have the right kinds of skills, and it pays off because the management team taps into the board on a regular basis. As Eric said, we upped our frequency through COVID, but in between meetings, management reaches out to directors, seeks advice, scrimmages a strategic issue, or invites a board member in to speak to employees about real-time issues like social inequity or racial injustice. And I think it's a combination of having the right skills in the room, the right collaborative environment, that high degree of trust, and the fact that we're all focused on the same thing, which is making Nordstrom a world-class public company that really brings it all together.
Companies in their leadership teams are being asked by stakeholders to take very active steps in improving pathways towards diversity and inclusion. How has Nordstrom answered that call?
We learned long ago that if we're going to be an inclusive place that's welcoming to all customers, we first have to be a place where all people can come and work and be successful by bringing their whole selves, their best selves to the job. And that's a journey. I don't think that's ever over. There's a lot of self-reflection over the events of the past year. And we've tried to take that on, again, of staying true to our values of being inclusive and being a place that respects our customers and respects each other, and really doing a lot of listening. And I believe strongly we're a better company today because of it.
Companies in their leadership teams are also being asked to take active steps towards mitigating climate risk. Maybe help us better understand Nordstrom's sustainability mindset, not just in their long-range planning, but in how they make their decisions on a day-to-day basis.
The sustainability agenda is more kind of completely integrated into a business agenda. And, I think it's important that we reflect on the values of our company, the culture of our company, and our brand ethos. And, if we don't stand for something, we stand for nothing. And so I think it's important that we embrace the issues and the interests of our customers in an authentic way. And that, when we can do that, that can be a really big competitive advantage.
What is the board's approach to succession planning? And how do we think about this dynamic between internal talent development and also looking to external recruitment in that process?
Well, I'm not sure there's a more important role for the board than deciding what the company's leadership is. And that's something we embrace and work in lockstep with the board on. And having the right leadership and having effective succession is one of the most important responsibilities we have. So how to do that? The board has a lot of experience in that, different companies, and bring best practices to the table that help us quite a bit. Pete and I see it as our responsibility is to develop that internal talent, to have that. But what goes with that succession planning is identifying the future, not using the rear view mirror, but looking forward of where's the world going and what does this company need? And this is a team sport. We always look at our teams and our executive team in particular, and how do we have not just the most capabilities, but diverse capabilities that create a synergy.
There is no more important responsibility for a board or for a management team than to get succession planning right and to make it an evergreen process. And the management team takes this responsibility seriously, as does the board. Every quarter, we engage in a discussion around our talent and bench. We review the important metrics around diversity, inclusion, and belonging. And we talk about what we need to do organizationally to ensure we've set ourselves up to execute the strategy for the future. In addition to that, once a year, we have a rigorous succession planning process where we invite an outside third party to come in and work with the management team and the board to not only calibrate and test our internal talent and think about development plans that will help them get ready for the next position, but we also test our talent against external market candidates and make sure that we have our eye on the horizon for both internal and external opportunities. This is something that the board and the management team takes very seriously. And I think the proof is in the pudding when you look at the great talent that the companies continue to cultivate, as well as the mix of new leaders they brought in from the outside.
How do you think about the responsibilities of a corporation in balancing the company's responsibility to deliver value for its owners, but also in balancing the responsibility to have purpose in this world?
Well, I think for a retailer in particular, the connections between the stakeholders are very clear. We are a public brand, and our reputation with customers is influenced by our reputation with shareholders and our reputations in the communities we serve. And our reputation with customers is heavily influenced by our reputation as an employer. These things are all tied together, and we've always believed that and have embraced that. We're sensitive about our reputation of being an inclusive place as an employer, where diversity, inclusion, and belonging are not buzzwords in response to an issue. They are values that we live each and every day. We're sensitive to what type of workplace we are, and as the world has become more transparent, and the power of things like social media, and I think the growing expectation from all stakeholders, certainly customers and employees in our communities, but very real of shareholders, that you do the right thing. And defining what the right thing is changes, but that expectation is more explicit than ever before, and it's we don't always get it right, but it's something we embrace.
We really don't have any chance of being successful if we don't bring that authenticity about who we are and how that shows up with the way we treat each other and the way that we treat customers. So, again, it gets back to kind of the cultural DNA of what could be is a big enabler for us, and that authenticity, that trust, and that integrity that cuts across the company. I mean, no doubt about it, our biggest kind of secret sauce and enabler to be successful is the quality and commitment of the people that work here at Nordstrom and the personal buy-in that they have. And that's real. And customers can see it and they can tell. And that's why a lot of customers love Nordstrom. And we take that responsibility seriously and trying to continue to earn that every day.
You know, a brand is not what you tell a customer you do. A brand is what a customer tells their friends and family members you do. And Nordstrom has always understood that, and they've always set the bar high to ensure they were living up to those aspirations and those ideals. And by the way, good investors, good owners want to invest in companies that try to create a culture where they can attract the top talent who work every day to do the best they can for the customers and the communities they serve. And that's now being reflected through the Business Roundtable Manifesto that was published last spring, saying that this is a responsibility of all public companies. It's reflected in institutional investors and the open letters they're publishing saying we only will invest in companies that understand that all stakeholders matter. And the good news is Nordstrom has known that from day one. They live it, they walk the talk, it reflects in everything they do, every experience they create. And we clearly take this responsibility as one of the first things and the things that we talk about in every one of our board meetings, whether we measure the environment, social, and governance objectives, we measure diversity, inclusion, and belonging objectives, we measure financial objectives. They are all equally weighted in our conversations.
How does the board come alongside leadership to ensure alignment and accountability?
Well, it begins with what you heard Eric and Pete talk about, the North Star, which is the customer. We've always believed in the boardroom that if you don't understand your customer, you can never hope to deliver quality or excellence. And to truly understand your customer, you have to reflect the customer and the communities that you serve. And Nordstrom wants to set the bar and set the standard for excellence in all that it does. Environment, social, governance, diversity, inclusion, belonging, financial goals. We have to walk the talk. We need to role model the example that we want to see. And that's why that diversity of the board that I talked about a few minutes ago is so important. To have the ethnic diversity, to have the gender diversity, to have the skills and experience that we need so that we can set the example and work with the management team to help them deliver the goals that they strive to deliver every day.
Great answer. Thank you so much for your time again today, gentlemen.